I wanted to get Danny back in because he's recently climbed a small hill, so I thought it's important to get him in to talk about that Kilimanjaro trip. So, Danny, how are you? How are you feeling?
Good mate, good. Thanks for having me back.
It's a pleasure
Again.
Are you recovered yet or no?
Yes, I am back to normal, recovered. Did my first leg session, strength training session back, and I'm in bits.
Yeah.
So yeah, well and truly back in the mix.
Love it. Okay, so we gotta get right into it. So first off, just preface it. Like, tell me what was the reason you did all of your challenges? Let's start from that.
Okay, so first of all, a friend of mine came to me with an idea to climb Kilimanjaro from Mind about a year ago. He had an idea that he did a trek on his own and wanted to go bigger and better, raise even more money for Mind charity, and Everest got bounded about a little bit, but then too many people died, and we didn't really fancy that, so not the charity. So we decided on Kilimanjaro, and it felt like a long time on the planet, a long time. It's always in the back of your mind. Because we were doing fundraising, so we had events. Obviously, I did the boxing event, and all of these events I would have done whilst we've been doing podcasts. So it's really funny. So, and obviously did the stepper, the 10 hours on the stepper, the quiz night, the Greatest Showman spin, and all those events were so well supported. Everyone really got behind it. So you kind of restore your faith in humanity almost, because everyone was so supportive, and I can't thank people enough, because without those events, we really wouldn't have been able to make it happen, really. And then obviously that was all leading up to doing Kilimanjaro, March 2019.
So you were away for 10 days? 10 days. Door to door?
Yeah.
Right, so we've had a little chat about some of the bits and pieces, the quirks of the trip.
Yes.
So what was the most difficult thing for you to deal with while you were away?
It's a world away from what we're used to. And we take so much for granted, and there's even just little things that, in fairness, that's not a downside on our part. It's what we're used to. It's what we have. It's our life, right? And you get there and you see, you get into the airport, and already you're in a different world, and you kind of go through the airport, and we got on a bus that's definitely not legal. At all, if it was in the UK, but like over there, it's like luxury, So it's like, okay, this is where we are now. And you get into the trip, and obviously, we stayed in a nice hotel. Actually, it was a nice hotel, and then you're kind of like lulled into a false sense of security, because the very next day you're in the jungle, and we start trekking. We trekked that first day on that Friday. We started on that Friday trekking through the jungle, and we were very lucky. We saw like a family of giraffes. We saw some monkeys as we got up into the jungle.
Yeah, this is alright, this is
and
nice.
You're going, yeah, this is wicked. Like, first day, we're not really affected by the altitude, we're only like a couple of thousand meters.
Yeah.
It's hot, so we're like, I'm buzzing about this. This is great. What a Friday.
Yeah.
And then you settle down. We were playing cards, and we're kind of chilling out, and you're going, okay, cool. And all of a sudden, obviously, we went to bed about 9 o'clock that first night, which is weird, because you're kind of like, well, that's not what we're used to either. And went to bed, and about 1 a.m. it was just the loudest noise I've ever heard in my life, ever, and it felt like it was right next to the tent. And we weren't warned about any of this, so like we had no idea what it was. And I can just imagine there was 12 of us at group two. The tents were in twos, and so there was 6 tents. Everyone was awake, just wondering what the hell was going on. And we were like, everyone was sort of still, and it went on pretty much all night. And that was like a massive eye opener to go, yeah, you might think you're going to have a nice time, but you're in the jungle now.
Yeah,
and
it's real.
It's real. And we kind of all woke up the next morning. Well, I say woke up, we didn't really sleep. Yeah. But you get out of your tent at 5:30 on the next morning, and you go, okay, this is going to be a long week. Yeah. Because we trekked from Friday to Friday, so that's like day one, not really much sleep, and now we're in the elements.
Yeah.
So
did you ever find out what that was?
It was a monkey. It was like it was a monkey, and it was like I guess it sounded like we were in the middle of a battle. Right. Like it was like they were calling each other apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like, I guess they know on how loud the way it is, at what distance and stuff.
Yeah.
They're clever, right?
But it's interesting. Like when we were on safari, which I think the hotel was probably a bit nicer than the campsite. But when we were there, it was quote unquote luxury tent. Yeah. So yeah, it had like felt walls or whatever, like fabric walls. But you had to get taken back by a ranger to your room at night, because that's when the animals are out. So the first night we went to bed, and about an hour probably into being in bed, I heard growling, and they'd said, oh look, there's been a lion kill in the area, so it could well be that lions visited the camp last night. So I said, well, it was pretty loud, so it sounded like they were right outside. They said, well, it could have been right outside, or it could have been 10 kilometres away. Like they're that loud. So it's crazy. But noise travels when there's nothing to stop it travelling, right? So there's no buildings in the way, there's no... So that's mad.
So we were I've never, again, because you've never heard anything like it, and all of a sudden your first night, it was just such a rude awakening. And then, so then we carried on, and day 2, day 3, and the scenery, the beauty of where you are is just incredible. Like because we were trekking, and it's kind of like slowly, so it's one foot in front of the other, and that's all it is. And all of a sudden you'll look up and you'll see your surroundings, and it's like, wow, this is just unbelievable, just so beautiful. And as obviously you get higher and higher, yes, the altitude starts to creep in, but you look back and you go, well, look how far we've come, look at this scenery, look at where we are. It's like a Tuesday morning, and look, I'm on the side of a volcano overlooking Africa. So it was the hardest part's going through the night. I'm a cold person anyway, which is why I'm buzzing that the sun's out. So
you still had the hoodie on earlier, but still.
You got to be safe. So it's like 30 degrees in the daytime, really hot, and I got a little bit, I think it was the third day, got a little bit, got quite burnt on my face, and it's quite windy, so that plays a part. And obviously you're getting higher and higher, so it's all these factors. We got really burnt, I think it was like the third or fourth day. I think it was the fourth day, because we were going up to 3,900 camp. But on that same day, we went up for a acclimatation walk up to 4,200 metres. And in that same day, it was snowing, and then it froze. And I was like, well, what's going on? Because I got burnt earlier, and now it's snowing. So which one is it? That's just how extreme it was. It was like either really hot or really freezing cold.
The Comic Relief Programme said that it makes its own kind of ecosystem.
Pretty much. It's weird. You know, 1 minute we stood there, and all of a sudden you're surrounded by clouds, and clouds move really fast. Really fast, and they creep in so quick. Obviously we look up and they look like they're just sort of still, but they move so fast, and to be in it's really weird feeling. But so waking up in the morning, there was frost on the inside of the tent, and I was like, I think it was a Monday morning, so we've done Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was a Monday morning. I shivered all night. I was waking up, and because I was shivering, struggling to get back to sleep, and I woke up and there was frost on the inside of the tent. So I knew it was like minus temperatures. It was 5:30 on Monday morning, and I was like, this is not the one. This is where I started that mental battle to kind of go. I'm at 3,000 plus meters now, which is like the kind of altitude sickness zone. I was feeling okay. I wasn't feeling too bad, but starting to kind of feel breathlessness. You know, I was making a cup of tea and I was a little bit breathless, and I was like, well, that's weird. It doesn't, and you just start noticing little things like that. And like I say, you really have to kind of go, I've got to have a little wet whitewash in the freezing cold at 5:30 in the morning when I've really not slept at all. There's many places I'd rather be right now. And in that same morning, I opened the tent, I looked out, and it was the first morning that we could actually see the peak. Because for the 3 days prior, we didn't see the peak once. So you're like, again, already you're kind of like, Jesus Christ, when are we going to see the peak? We're not even close. So so we saw the peak that morning. It was covered in snow, and it was beautiful. I've never seen anything like it, and until I do something crazy again, I won't still. So it's like, and that was like, and then as soon as you got out, you start having a laugh, you have a cup of tea, you start getting used to like the different foods and stuff, because we're in luxury. We can have whatever we want. The food was amazing, the porters did amazing, the chefs did amazing. They are incredible people that I will take my hat off to, and they made the experience what it was. But so like in the morning, even for me, it was powdered milk and stuff like that. Just stuff I'm not used to. But it's so surprisingly how quickly you get used to it, because it's hot and it's warm and it's a little bit at home. And then it was like stuff like porridge, and they need to get the food into you, because as you start to get towards altitude, you start to lose your appetite. So you're almost force feeding. Now I'm fairly here, sometimes if I'm trying to put on a bit of size or anything like that, you kind of go, right, well, I've got to get it in, so I've got to get it in. And I just adopted that same mentality out there, was that it's fuel, it's not food, it's fuel right now. I need to get to the top and therefore I need to eat. Because we're still, you know, although the distances were only probably 10 to 14k each day, it was quite physically demanding. Yeah. I genuinely thought it would be quite easy pass, and it's a tourist thing that happens. People do it a lot more now. So I guess it probably is to a point, and then it gets real. Then you go, well, actually, we're on the side of a volcano, and we're not going to start moving massive. So these massive like rocks, and they're just balls of dried up lava. Yeah. And there's millions of them, and they're for miles outside. So when that eruption happened, millions of years ago, these rocks, these massive boulders that you would kind of, you know, Stonehenge type size boulders and beyond, are like, and there's a whole massive field, like just as far as you can see of them, and you can't only imagine what that would have been like to be there. To give you a sense of insignificance. Yeah, because it happened in the Ice Age, so there was ice there at the time at the top. Because what the guys were saying was that there was rock that was, you know, they cut away the glaciers, which is why at the top, and I don't know if you would have seen it on the Comet Relief, but they didn't really go into too much of the history. No. There's a lot about altitude sickness on that program. Yeah, see a lot of the mountain. Yeah, and where it kind of the lava had flowed down the mountain, and obviously there's remnants of that, and that's incredible in itself. So yeah, that's. Again, it adds to the sheer beauty of it, the story. So, but yeah, that was incredible. But as you obviously get towards the top and you start getting higher, that's when the altitude starts to kick in. That seemed to, like, I know they've only got an hour on that program. Yeah, it seems to be an awful lot because it's a whole 7 days. Yeah, you can't do that in an hour. You should have 2 or 3 parts. I think so. But like, is that a fair representation of altitude sickness and when it kicks in and how it kicks in and whatever? Yeah, I think what I would say is everyone struggles so differently. Like some of the guys were really struggling from day 2 and 3, you know, really starting to struggle with mainly lack of appetite, lack of energy, headaches, tiredness. I think it was such a combination of everything. They're very good on making sure you're hydrated. They make sure that you're hydrated. So there's no issue there, but even at points you still feel like you don't want to hydrate. But you know you have to, so you get it in. And some of our guys were starting to feel dizzy, they didn't look great, like you could tell that they were starting to really flag. And I think at one point on day 5, we went to Lava Tower, which was another acclimatization walk, and one of our guys really wasn't in a good way. She lost her kind of balance a little bit, and I was like, this could be, you know, this could be where they start taking people off the mountain. But they do that. They will, and they did say to her, like, listen, if you don't perk up, we're gonna take you off the mountain, we're gonna take you to hospital. And sure enough, she put a bit of face on and got it done, and bless her, she got to the top. But yeah, so it wasn't for me. I thought I was kind of like waiting for it to kick in, and it didn't. And I was like, I'm going to get away with this. I'm going to get away. And then the last night was probably the hardest night of my life. I genuinely believe that was one of the toughest 8 hours I've ever endured mentally. So we trekked through the day up. So we go to bed Tuesday night. Again, we know that the summit day's tomorrow, so we don't sleep that well. We get up on the Wednesday morning, around 5:30, we have breakfast, we chill out a little bit, and we set off at 8 o'clock. We trek through the day that day. We get to camp. And this is base camp, Kilimanjaro, so it's busy because this is where all the routes merge. So all the routes merge at base camp, Kilimanjaro, and then everyone goes from there, and it's one route. If you go to the north side, you go to the south side, that's a different route, which is what the Comet Relief guys did, but we didn't do that point. So it's a busy camp. As we did the Lemosho route, the longer route, it was fairly quiet, so we pretty much had the first 4 camps to ourselves. I think there was one other group. And then obviously there's 5 different routes, I think it is. So they've all merged at base camp Kilimanjaro to summit that night. So it's fairly busy. And we get there and we were kind of the bottom of the camp, because again, you're on the side of a volcano. It wasn't a campsite. It was never like made to be a campsite. Yeah. So it's like where you'll be where there's a bit of flat ground. And even at times, I went to bed in my tent with my head below my feet, sliding down towards the tent. Wow. So because we were trying to top and tail, but in the end we were just like, right, we're going to both sleep uphill. Yeah, right? Yeah. But it was a snorer, so I was trying to get away from it. Yeah. So yeah, so we tried to get an hour's sleep, but it was boiling hot, and it's the middle of the day, so you're like, well, this isn't going to go well. So didn't really sleep, just rested, and all of us, but everywhere you go, like there's little tornadoes as a norm.
Right.
So like even driving through the middle of Kilimanjaro to the mountain, there was just like these little sandstorm tornadoes. But we're at base camp top, and it's starting to get wind, it's starting to pick up, and all of a sudden this tornado whips up, and it rips this tent out of the ground, up into the air like a kite. And this tent is just flying around, circling in the air like a kite. And then all of a sudden, we're all looking up at that, and there was these 2 water butts. But where it was rain season...
There was no one in there?
No.
Imagine that, you go for a week, and then you turn around, your tent's in the air.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I guess there was no stuff in it either, because otherwise that would have weighed it down a bit, I guess. But unless it ripped the canvas was probably nailed to the floor, and it ripped off the top of the canvas.
Wow.
So we're all looking up at that, and where it hasn't been rain season, there hasn't been a lot of rain. So, because that's what you drink, you literally drink the rainwater with a bit of chlorine in it.
Right.
So we're looking up at that, all of a sudden these 2 water butts, one gets blown off of its kind of massive black water butts, gets blown off its stand and starts rolling down the hill towards us, and there's like a little bit of a cliff face.
Indiana Jones style.
Yeah, and I'm like in my tent, sat in my tent just chilling, but I can poke my head up to see what's going on, and I've looked round, and I'm like, oh my god, that's coming towards us. So that's full on coming towards us. So there's 10 blows, and then one of our guys starts shouting, guys, stop that! And then like 10 of the guys started running towards it to stop it. But obviously we're down like a bit of a cliff, so there's no way all that's going to happen is it's going to just drop onto us and roll into where our tents were.
Yeah.
So I look round, and like it's so typical of this day and age. No one's panicking. Everyone's got their phones up filming.
Of course they have.
Yeah. And I was like, I literally just kind of looked around and was like, okay. And then they stopped it, and it didn't fall on us, and they literally just put like a stone underneath it. Like it's like, yeah, that looks safe, guys, good. And like in this country, it would never ever get away with it.
No.
Like there, it's just like, we'll put a stone there and it'll be okay.
That's funny.
And I was like, well, if I go tonight, and it's not because of a mountain, it's because of a water, but it's like a good way to go.
Yeah,
so,
it's a story for people to tell of you.
So yeah, it was funny. So yeah, we just chilled out a bit. We had some more food. Got up when I did get an hour that night. So we'd had an hour's sleep since the Tuesday night. Got up -6. Put all up. I literally put everything I had on.
Yeah.
I must have had about 8 layers on.
Yeah.
And gloves and hats. I had a balaclava, a neck gaiter, 3 hats on. And
So basically what you wear when you're coaching your kids.
Yeah.
Football.
On a football.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so we set off, and like, it's stupid because like, 1 minute you're hot, the next minute, because if the terrain changes, so like you might be on a steady path and it's okay, and then all of a sudden you're climbing up a rock face, and it's like, now I'm roasted.
Yeah.
And there's no, literally, I spent the whole time, obviously where I said about it, I got sunburn. I had a shower. When I say shower, I mean there was a bucket of water that I washed my face with, and I washed my face, wiped my face with a towel, and it pulled the skin off my nose.
Your nose looked like it was wide open when you
it was literally a flesh, like it was just flesh, like it was just like, and so I had the gaiter on, but that was rubbing over my nose, and that was so painful, but it was actually quite a release from what we were doing, focusing on trying to sort the balaclava out. I must have waited a good half an hour. So we set off at like 11 o'clock at night, and we knew we were trying to get there for sunrise, but I kind of was wary of when the sunrise was, and I knew it was around 7:15 a.m. So I was like, well, now I know there's about 8 hours of trekking until we get there. In the day, like I said to you before, it was beautiful, and you're looking up and you're taking in the surroundings, and you're having a laugh and you're having a joke, and it's all fun and games, right? And that's okay, but because you can see where you're going to. You've got a visual reference point where you can see, well, we've got to get over that peak, and then, oh my god, we've got to go down again, which means we've got to go up again, or whatever, but it's all part of it. Pitch black that night, we set off. There's stars, but there's no moon whatsoever. So you cannot see up at all. You can't see around, you can't see up. All you can see is these little head torches in the distance. So we've all got head torches on, but you can just see these little head torches zigzagging up ahead of you. And you're kind of going, well, if I get closer to them, we must be getting somewhere. But they never ever got closer.
They never stopped, they
keep going, right? So you're doing the same as they are. There's probably people below you thinking the same thing, but you keep going and you keep going, and you feel like days have passed, and it's probably been about half an hour, because all you can do is put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
Just step by step for hours and hours. And all of a sudden, a couple of hours in, one of our guys starts to get really sick. Like he starts being sick, but he looks horrendous. He's dizzy. He's like walking like he's had about 15 pints.
Right.
And you kind of go in, this isn't good, because I know, at this point, I know it's like 1:30 a.m. in the morning. So we're miles away from where we need to be, even though it feels like we've been trekking for days. So I kind of looked at him, and from a PT standpoint, from a health and fitness standpoint, I'm going, I would first prioritize health. And I'm going, I reckon they're going to take him off the mountain. Like, he does not look good. I'm trying to focus on me and just to keep moving, because at this point my hands hurt, I'm freezing cold, and I'm like, I know how long left there is, and I don't know where I'm going to. So I'm trying to have that mental battle with myself to say that this is just you just got to keep going. You put one foot in front of the other, and in a few hours, it's just a few hours of your life. It's just a few hours of your life. We say all the time, training daily, time's going to go, and that was genuinely what I was thinking about. I was just thinking, it's just a few hours. You just dig in, it's a little bit of pain, and you'll get to the top. And you'll get to the top. You're feeling okay. Your altitude sickness is okay. Let's just keep going. But then when you see your friends getting really sick and not in a good way, it's hard to see, because you're kind of going, well, that's going to happen to me probably at some point, but you're also worried that they're not going to make it to the top because we've come this far.
Yeah.
So basically what they did is they put their arm underneath him, they kept assessing him, they were on top of checking his eyes and that, and then they kind of had a good word with him and said, right, we're going again, and we'd go again, and they'd be sick, and then they'd go again, and then a couple more people would drop, and then you're passing other groups that have stopped and being sick. And
what does it take to stop you? Have you got to literally collapse?
Pretty much, I guess, because they check your oxygen saturation before you go up, and as long as it's above 80, they'll let you go. And so I guess from that point, but you go from the morning, 3,900 metres, to the evening. Obviously, you're trekking through the night to get to 5,800 metres. So it's a lot of distance, it's a lot of height in a really short space of time. So I guess that I say it before, I've said it. So I personally don't do that all the time. They do. Yeah. So they know what they're doing, and they must. And they did say to us afterwards, we took a risk because you're doing it for charity, and we wanted to get you to the top. We took a risk, and I was like, well, I'm glad you didn't take a risk on my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But they had oxygen and everything, so I genuinely believe that if they got to a point where, you know, he was.
Are they going to embellish a little bit as well? Yeah. Like it's a big risk, and they know it's not that bad, or they, you know.
Yeah. So I kind of anyway. So we carry on, we break, and I'm like, I tried to get water out of my pack, and my nozzle was frozen, and then I tried to get water out of my bottle, and that was frozen. And at this point, you go, well, I guess this is it then. We've got to keep going, and I've got no water. So, and at that point, I didn't have any energy to drink anyway. I didn't even want to. Yeah. And what you find as you go throughout the trek, as you get higher, you start subconsciously doing less. And I'll bring this back to health and fitness quickly. I actually resonate this with people that do really crazy diets. Yeah. So people are doing 1,000 calorie diets or 800 calorie diets. The body hasn't got enough fuel anymore. Yeah. We didn't have enough oxygen, and we definitely didn't have enough fuel for what we were doing. So I'm quite an animated person. I talk with my hands. I'm quite energetic. I like to move. I like to do things, and I'm aware of my body because of what I do. Yeah. And I noticed that I'd started to slow down, and I'd start to subconsciously make decisions not to do things. Like if I needed a wee, I'd sit there and I'd be like, no, I'm not going, until I really needed to, and then I'd go. Or silly things like, I'd stop talking with my hands. Or someone would ask you to do something, and you'd be like, oh, for God's sake. And all it was like, can you pass me the gel?
You turned into a teenager.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't use any more energy than you do, and it's the closest I can kind of, like I say, resonate with people that are doing crazy diets. That their body's going, great, you're eating less, I'm going to do less.
I'm going to conserve as much as I can. Yeah.
So
it makes sense.
You don't, with those diets, you don't gain anything because your daily expenditure of calories goes down, your activity goes down, your performance goes down. It was the same thing for us. We had less oxygen, and we had less fuel than we needed. So that's what I kind of resonated to, that it was kind of similar to that. So yeah, we keep going, and we keep trekking, and all of a sudden I'm looking back because I know that some point, I feel like some point there's going to be a glow in the sky. And it just didn't come, and it just did not come. And it doesn't matter how many times I turned around and I looked. I mean, my neck was sore the next day, actually. now thinking about it was probably why, because I just kept turning around to hope. You know, it was just like that desperation of seeing a glow, because then you know that sun's coming and then you'll be able to see the peak. And like 6 hours later, you're still not seeing this peak, and I'm genuinely saying like it's the longest 6 hours of my life.
And there's, like you said, there's no stimulus.
Nothing.
So it's like, imagine hopping onto a treadmill, looking at a wall, and walking for 8 hours.
Really
no stimulus, no Netflix, no. Do you know what I mean, on the treadmill?
100%.
That I can't.
100%.
That's crazy. But there's, like you said to me before, off air, you said there's no other way of doing this that doesn't involve a massive altitude jump on the last day, right? You can't camp halfway up there, you can't do it.
No.
So you have to do that last. There must be so many people that are casualties of the last day.
Yeah, massively. And that's where they say, you know, Kilimanjaro is not the highest peak in the world by any means. It's the highest peak in Africa, and it's the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. But it's the way in which you do it that makes a real difference and catches people out a little bit.
Freestanding?
As in, I think like you look at Kilimanjaro and there's mountains all around it, and it's a big, vast, massive area.
Right.
Whereas Kilimanjaro is like a volcano's peak.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, but yeah, so anyway, the sun starts to glow, and I can just see the peak of where we need to get to. So Stellar Point is where we need to get to, and then you go basically round the top of the volcano to Uhuru Peak, which is the highest point in the mountain. So the sun starts to glow and I can see it, and all of a sudden I start getting sick. I'm like, there's no way I'm not getting there. So every time we would stop, I was like wretched, like to be sick. Weirdest feeling ever. And then my balance started to go, so I was kind of starting to join the others with the drunk walk, and it was like I had the poles and I was very reliant on them, so I pretty much doubled over, leaning on my poles as I was walking. And in the end, they took my bag off my back, because every time we stopped and I stood up tall, my bag was just pulling me backwards. Yeah. So yeah, they were like, "No, we've got to get this off you." And it was, the camaraderie was incredible. There's some guys that I'll never ever thank enough for what they did to help us get us up there. You know, they were incredible, and the people, I was suffering for long parts, and I helped the other guys, and when I was suffering, they helped me. So. As in
some of these you didn't know before.
No, not at all. Yeah, I only really knew 2 of them out of the 10 properly, so 2, 3. So yeah, it was incredible. Like we all really came together, and in that situation, you find out what people are really about. And I love that challenge. I love that mental resilience challenge, and I wanted, because it sounds stupid, but I almost wanted to get sick, because I wanted to know what it felt like to be like, oh, I got, you know, not to say, oh, I got sick and I got COVID, but I wanted to know what it felt like. I wanted to have a mental battle. I wanted to challenge myself. I didn't want it to be easy, because everyone sort of says to you, oh, you're fit, you'll be fine, but it was zero about that. Physically, I believe it was a fairly straightforward challenge in terms of physicality. It was
a step-a-thon harder in terms of that.
Yeah, probably. I mean, in times physically, yeah, definitely, but like, because it was so different. But again, it's that mental challenge that you go through. Kili was way harder. Yeah. It was 10 hours, and I did it in 10 hours, and the day was done. Yeah. You know, again, that was another thing where you go, well, it's just time. That time will go. When it stops, it will be done.
You can either stand there next to it, or you can get on it and do it. Yeah.
So and we get to the top, and you think it's going to be like chest pumps and high fives and like and you get to the top and you're just an absolute mess.
Well, mate, your video at the top, you know when people say sort of like interviews after fights, when fighters aren't quite with it yet and they haven't had a chance to come down from the adrenaline, and they interview them anyway. Yeah. And I always think what they must be thinking afterwards, like, what was I didn't remember saying that. Yeah. I honestly thought it looks like you were drunk and don't remember what you were saying. It looked like a bit crazy. But you got your point across, and I think that animated it better than you probably ever could have.
Yeah, it was just like, it was from the heart, you know. It was from the heart, and it was genuine, and it was a massive thank you, because genuinely every step I took up that 6 or 8 hours, it was like every step was like, we're helping you, you know, we're doing this for a reason. And we've got to get to the top, because we said we were going to get to the top to help these people.
Was that in your mind a lot?
A lot. And the people that I know that have been affected by mental health problems, that go through things that they don't want to be going through, but yet they are, because of whatever's happened in their lives or whatever. So every step of the way you kind of go, and this is for the people that we're helping, and when we get to the top, we're going to take a photo, and then we're going to run the hell down.
And back to Stella Point, huh?
And coming down was harder physically.
Really?
Yeah, harder.
Imagine it's hard on the knees.
Yeah, so we pretty much trekked from Wednesday, all night to get to the peak. The most beautiful scenes. You don't really take it in.
Yeah.
So you kind of take photos, but you don't really take the photos off.
Yeah.
But the feeling, I'll never forget the feeling of getting to the top and being stood on that kind of, whatever it is, that wooden statue that says you made it.
Yeah. And it's going to be hard coming back down as well, knowing that you can't just get home straight away, you've got to come down.
You still know that even though this is Wednesday night, Thursday morning, I'm still not getting home until Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And at this point I just want to go home, see my family and be with my friends and talk about it. But we then trekked down, so we ran down pretty much that morning, 4 hours, had 1 hour sleeping and another 4 hours down. Yeah. And at this point my body was genuinely broken. Like I really was tired. I was physically tired, I was mentally tired. And that Thursday night was the first night I'd slept really well.
Yeah.
Then we checked again the next day down on the Friday, went back to the hotel and really just chilled out and had some food. But I think what really is the standout point is that what we achieved by taking small steps really epitomises, I think it's just such a good analogy for life, for anyone dealing with mental health issues or illnesses I should say, that whatever you want to achieve, doesn't matter what it is, by taking small steps you will get there. And every time it got hard for us, we looked back and we could physically and visually see how far we'd come.
Yeah.
We knew how far we had to go, but we could see how far we'd come. And for me, that it's true in life, right? You can beat yourself up, you can put yourself down, whether you've got a weight loss goal, a strength gain goal, an athlete performance goal, just a goal to keep going in life. You can put yourself down, but you've got to, and you might need someone to point this out to you, and I'm quite aware of doing that, is that this is how far you come. So don't put yourself down, because you could just not do any of this, you could not go to work, you could not do anything, and I'm sure that some days for people it feels like that. But you've got to know how far you've come, you've got to know how strong you are to be able to do the things that you do. And like I say, one small step after one small step, very, very, very slowly, after 6 days, got us to that top of that mountain. And we went through some very, very tough times and some challenging conditions, and it was the most humbling experience of my life. Yeah. To make sure that I never take anything for granted, and just to make sure that I keep challenging my mental health, because I think that's important as well. If you go through and you kind of shy away from things that might hurt or might make you a bit nervous, or I think you need to go through them challenges. You need to understand who you are and how you deal with that as a person. And if you can do that and you can overcome that, then what's next? And
you need some struggle.
Yeah, I think so. You grow from that.
Yeah.
And that link with mental health and exercise for me is just so important. And I believe we're starting to scratch the surface with that now, and people are starting to understand that. I was talking to a lady recently whose son is very, very poorly with leukemia, and we were chatting, and she said, for her, exercise has just been her absolute saviour. And the more I speak to people, unfortunately I speak to a lot of people, the more they say that I have anxiety, I have this, and I've dealt with this, and exercise has been my go-to. And I want those people, like, I have a voice and you have a voice and you have a platform to be able to put it out there, so why wouldn't we do that?
Absolutely.
And I think that's so important, and if you feel like that's happened for you, if exercise has helped you, then go and tell someone, go and help someone, go and talk to people, because I think it's also, you never know what's going on in people's lives.
It's so easy to assume everyone's got it together.
Yeah.
For sure, and it doesn't matter how successful you are.
Yeah.
You can see, even you can have, Premier League footballers, and it look like, oh, they've got everything, they've got it together, they've got, the perfect life, and it doesn't always work out that way.
Because it was really sad actually. I got back, and a few days later, a celebrity had actually committed suicide, and it was like I kind of was like, obviously it's sad, it's just a sad thing that's happened, but you kind of look at it and you go, if only that person had felt like he could talk to someone. Yeah. And I think we just need to make sure that everyone knows around you that you've got someone to talk to. And they might not want to, but you kind of got to, and that's where I'm not an expert, and I'm not someone who deals with that. But if I can help someone, if I can talk to someone, if I can try and brighten someone's day up, then it's, you've done something to help, and you make yourself accessible. So I think we've done a good job in raising awareness. I think we're at £94,000 raised now. So I have to thank everyone for that.
Is that still open or is it done?
What day is it? It's tomorrow it's shut. So yeah, so end of March it will shut, and we'll have our final total, and that'll be presented to Mind, and what an incredible kind of result. Our aim was £50,000.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so we've hit around, I think we've just hit about 94,000 now. So I can't thank everyone enough for their support, and I can imagine that it's almost a weird kind of feeling, and marathon runners or anyone that does any kind of exercise will know that once you do these big events, I kind of got back and I was like a little bit empty.
Yeah,
a little bit like, oh, I spent a year of my life prepping for that, and I've got this bit of spare time now, and I don't quite know what to do with it. And it's like, and obviously while we were away, it's such a simple time that you get there. There's no phones because there's no reception, so you're like playing cards or reading or just living life. Yeah. And I absolutely loved it. I've been more conscious since I've been back to really just enjoy the moment and really enjoy where I am. And I kind of, I'll get caught on Instagram after like 5 minutes.
That's so easy.
And I'm like, no, what am I doing?
Do you ever go, how did I open this?
Yeah, I don't even
know. I was look at my diary. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, what was I doing? And so I think take time out for yourself. Really kind of have a clear vision of what you want to achieve in that time, with the time that you have, and then whether that's fitness, whether that's business, whether that's anything, and then go forward from there and really kind of maximise the time that you have. Because one thing I learned is that these people that helped us, there was 44 people that helped 12 of us get up the mountain.
That's incredible.
And they do it for so little, and they were happy to do it. They wanted to do it, and they were happy because we were happy. And that was genuine, and there was times where it was quite emotional to be out there and to see that, the desperation to help and to want to be, just to want to be helpful. And I think that goes a massive miss here sometimes. We're like out for ourselves, and we it's so easy to be, but yeah, I think we've got to just take a little bit from that and just be happy and try and enjoy the moment and do what makes us happy. Yeah. We hear all the time about people that hate their jobs and spend 45, 50 hours a week there. Yeah. So why don't you go and do something that you love? Because it's too short, man. It's too short.
Absolutely. Mate, I'm with you 100%. Listen, you're an inspiration. I'm super proud of you. The whole team is. Anything we can do to support that and increase that message, we will do.
Thank you.
Like I said, man, inspiring. I love it. I love to talk to you about this sort of stuff, and it's I always come away buzzing from it. So thank you for your time.
Pleasure. And again, anyone that wants to talk about this, there's always people to talk to. And I genuinely believe that exercise is a massive help to anyone's mental health. So if you need any information or any help with that, then we're always here. And don't be afraid to get in touch.
100%. Awesome. Danny, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
We're out.